Today's topic, I'm going to discuss retirement budget planning, why it's important, it's crucial, probably the most important step when it comes to retirement planning in general, and then how to make sure that you could create the math behind the scenes. And it comes down to three main areas. It comes down to step one, creating some sort of vision, what you want to see as your ideal retirement. Step two, looking underneath the hood at your current situation, meaning what is your income sources going to be, or what are your income sources right now? What are they going to be throughout retirement? And then also what are your expenses right now versus what is it going to be throughout retirement to correlate that to that specific goal. And then step three is creating some sort of strategy so that you're able to mathematically match up those pieces. You're able to say, okay, if I have X amount of dollars of income coming in and X amount of dollars of expenses, how do I make sure that they're at least accomplishing one another? That I'm always at least going to have some sort of baseline of income, some baseline strategy so that I have as much money left over in really my fun accounts as possible so that you could live your retirement destination with ease, with confidence, and with success. So when I say retirement vision, what exactly am I referring to? And this is where the conversation gets a little bit dark and morbid. And basically, what I mean by that is the easiest way to create some sort of retirement vision is to picture a deathbed scenario, is to picture you lying on your deathbed with your family around, looking up and saying, okay, did I accomplish everything that I wanted to up until this point? This could be obviously everybody's going to have to experience some sort of scenario such as this. And that might happen in a year. It might happen in 30 years, 40 years. Nobody knows. Obviously, there's not a date stamped on everybody's head on when they're going to die. But are you on that correct trajectory to say, when I retire, I want to make sure that I have accomplished X, Y, Z. I took my trip to Italy. I was around, I was available for my kids, for my grandkids, as much as I possibly could have been. Was I letting the little things, really kind of bother me? And, did I finally calm down and actually try to enjoy life? And was I, golfing every day? Did I fish every day? Something that I see as my ideal dream, my ideal retirement vision. What exactly is that vision? And how can you scale that for more of a monetary standpoint? So as an example, let's say somebody wants to golf, 3 days a week. Well, how much does it typically cost to golf those 3 days a week? Are you going to be, utilizing that every week for the rest of your life? Or do you want to do that for a couple of months when the weather's nice and then, reduce that, later on in months when it's colder? Do you want to do the snowbird thing where maybe have a place over in Florida and then another place over in the Northeast? And whenever the weather is suitable, that's where you're going to be moving from those different areas. So whatever you see, that's really the crux of everything, because if you don't have that vision in mind, or you don't really know how to accomplish that vision or how to create that vision, well, then everything else is just essentially meaningless. This is something that, and I mentioned it in some of my other videos, but it hit me very hard a couple of months ago. My father went in for a routine hernia surgery, and when the doctors went in, they ended up nicking an artery, and he was slowly bleeding out. And it was an extremely scary situation. Me and my brothers, we went over to the hospital to be with him. We were pretty sure that he wasn't going to make it. And in that scenario, when you're sitting in the ICU and he's has tubes in his throat and all of this, and he's incoherent, and me and my brothers are around his deathbed, it was very real to the fact of it affected me thinking of my 3 children around my deathbed and seeing them and in that scenario where if I was going to be in my 60s, my 70s, my 80s, my 100s, putting myself in that bed and looking up and saying, did I accomplish everything I wanted to in life? And if that answer is no, well, then there's things that have to change. It's not just, okay, when I hit this specific age, but you could already start knocking down those retirement visions as you're living, as you're working today. So that's more of, it takes a step back from the really financial planning aspect of it. But if there's opportunities as you're working, there's opportunities when your income is already greater than or equal to your expenses, that you could go and start taking these trips and start, checking off those little buckets on your bucket list. Make sure that you do that, because there's many times we hear these scenarios where somebody finally gets to that retirement stage, finally gets to that retirement year. Now they're able to walk off into the sunset. they get hit with an ailment and they're dead within a couple of years from that or a couple of months from there. So that's obviously a horrible situation. Step two is going to be your current situation. So this is looking at how many years you have left until your ideal retirement. What is your income right now versus what your expenses are right now? And then fast forward to what is your income projected to be versus what are your expenses projected to be. A more generic way to calculate these numbers is by utilizing an acronym of MUG: mortgage, utilities, and groceries, and saying, okay, I have an approximation of what that is right now or what it's going to be. What we recommend is to be more technical with these numbers and make sure that you're not leaving anything to chance, so that you're accounting for any little scenario, so that mathematically we're able to dissect it and then figure out what you're trying to strive for. Figure out if what your current situation is, and then also what your ideal situation is, or your ideal retirement date, if you're fine with just continuing on your current path, and you will have that sort of retirement success. Or with majority of the times, there has to be these tweaks that need to be made. It could be very slight tweaks or it could be drastic tweaks. It really just depends upon the individual situation. So what do I mean by that? So what you have up on the screen is really itemizing what your current situation is and then what your retirement situation will be. So like case in point, income. What sort of income streams are you receiving right now? Are you receiving additional income such as pension income, alimony, child support, different things like that currently? What's that going to be throughout retirement? Are you going to be receiving some sort of inheritance? Are you receiving monies from a trust? What sort of additional income streams are you going to be having? And then also calculating what that is on a monthly basis and then multiplying it by 12 to create some sort of, baseline off of, what your income will be at that point. So case in point would be the most common types of income sources in retirement are going to be Social Security income, pension income, and then assets from their savings. So that could either be 401k monies, IRA monies, non-qualified accounts, Roth IRA accounts. It could be income from rental properties, business income, residual business income. So those are the different things to really dissect. Now, when you start going down a little bit further, it says your housing expenses. So as an example with mortgage, do you currently have a mortgage right now? Are you going to have a mortgage throughout retirement? Is there going to be a drop-off? How soon is there going to be a drop-off when you do hit your retirement stage? So maybe somebody wants to retire at age 65, but they understand their mortgage is going to be paid off by age 70. Well, then you could have a large decrease in expenses. Also, all because a mortgage is paid off does not mean that the property taxes, that those go away, or your homeowner's insurance, and all those different additional housing expenses go away. The other aspect is going to be utilities. So your electric, your gas, your water, your sewage, your telephone bill, trash collection, a cable TV. So there's going to be certain things that will relate to your situation, and then others that are just non-existent. Those aren't expenses that you even have to account for. So make sure that you're always itemizing what each little area is. Next goes into health medical. So let's say if you're age 65, you're going to be eligible for Medicare. Are you covered through some sort of Medicare supplement plan through your previous employer? Are you looking for Medicare Advantage versus Medicare supplement plans? Different things that can, correlate to what that expense is going to be. Are you going to be paying for additional monies towards a therapist, eyeglasses, all those different things that you're seeing on the list that helps out? Car payments, car insurance, expenses with transportation. Are you going to be traveling as much or driving around as much, or did you have a large commute from work? Credit cards. Are you going to have all your credit cards paid off? And do you still use credit cards for the points and make sure every time you charge it that you're going to be paying that off, or is that a large burden there? So any little detail possible, that's what we want to incorporate, and then really match up, say, okay, what are my income sources going to be throughout retirement? What are my expenses going to be throughout retirement? Do they match up to my specific vision? And then is there a gap there? If I'm only receiving Social Security income and I don't have a pension plan, and all I have is Social Security income, no rental income streams, no other additional income streams, and my Social Security is not greater than or equal to my expenses, then I have to create some sort of strategy to make sure that I could utilize income strategies or income-related accounts to close up what that gap is. So that's where the budgeting analysis is crucial, because this puts the math, this puts the science behind the scenes to figure out if it's possible off of your current situation and off of your current trajectory, if you can accomplish this goal. If you can't and you need help, that's where you could ask for help. That's where you could ask for different financial advisors, financial assistants, or you could create these different budgeting analysis on your own to try to figure it out on your own. Obviously, at any point in time, you could give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002, and you would reference this video and ask to speak with a specialist so you could walk you through exactly what your expenses are right now, what they're going to be, incorporate inflationary-based expenses versus other expenses that might be flat, and how to make sure that you're able to navigate through your path successfully, create your vision for retirement, and have that success, and know that you have that confidence going into it through the correct strategy, through the correct plan. And the third and final step is implementing some sort of plan, not just leaving different things to chance. Step one was creating that retirement vision. Step two was really figuring out what your current situation is and then what your retirement situation is projected to be if you stay on that current path. And then step three is implementing some sort of plan to make the necessary tweaks so that you have that retirement success. A couple of really quick pointers is looking at 3-thing scenario and looking at the retirement diet plan process. So like a 3-thing scenario means that there's 3 things that every individual needs to figure out before they're retired, or if they're currently retired, how to stay retired forever. Step one is they want to make sure that their income sources are greater than or equal to their expenses when they hit that point B. So point A is obviously their current situation. Point B is going to be their ideal retirement date. What are their income sources versus what their expenses are, just like I showed you on the other screen. Is there a gap there? If there's a gap there, well then what's the smallest dollars and only as much as necessary from those savings, from that 401k, Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, non-qualified accounts, checking, savings? What are the smallest dollars from those buckets, and only as much as necessary to implement it towards the proper income distribution strategy? So that if you're able to close up that gap, that would make it that your income is going to be greater than or equal to your expenses throughout retirement. So this is a large portion off of where individuals have hesitancy, or they're super scared on whether or not they have the correct trajectory towards retirement. They're just not confident of whether or not they're going to outlive their dollars, or they could basically live every month with confidence that money's constantly trickling into their bank accounts, by creating that proper strategy. Once that step one is covered, that's where step two would be, okay, anything that you leave that you don't have to use for that step one, you could now utilize to some sort of emergency need. Or step 1 and 2 could really be interchangeable, but making sure that you have anywhere between 3 to 12 months of whatever your expenses are to some sort of liquid account. So that could be, okay, I want to leave monies in a non-invested position, in a money market account, in a checking, savings, something I could access at any point in time in case of an emergency or an oh my gosh moment was to occur. Whatever you don't use for step 1 and step 2, now that you could implement for step 3. And step 3 is really your fund monies. That's meant for growth/inflation. So these are meant for monies that, it's not tailored towards your retirement income streams, but it's still important to make sure that you're growing, you're beating out the pace of inflation, or you want to use this as a vacation fund, or maximize whatever your inheritance is. And that's where that growth inflationary bucket would basically come into play. So when I'm saying a plan, it's not just a portfolio. It's not just, hopium of that you're creating an account and you're hoping that things are just going to work out. What you were doing is you're creating specific strategies, specific tilts towards your buckets to make sure that it could at least accomplish your needs successfully. So this is the trademark process that we have called the retirement diet plan. And the reason why I call diet, DIET, stands for distribution planning, investment planning, estate planning, and tax planning. As long as you're able to look underneath the hood off of your situation and see, am I maximizing out the correct areas for my step 1 distribution planning side, look underneath the hood and say, okay, Social Security income. I know that this is going to be some sort of lifetime income, guaranteed income source for me, or me and my spouse when he or she is collecting Social Security income as well. What are going to be the combination of those numbers? Are there ways, or if there's a gap there, if there's no other additional income sources, and you're now creating some sort of distribution planning strategies, Are you taking it from tax efficient accounts that are not going to mess with the net amount of income that you're generating from Social Security income? So like, as an example, if you're taking all your money from taxable related accounts or tax deferred pre-tax related accounts, that's going to increase your provisional income, which could increase the taxation on your Social Security income planning. So by making sure that you're creating the correct income strategy and you're able to understand, okay, where am I pulling these monies from? Are my accounts most efficient, most effective for my distribution planning strategies? And then how does it correlate to all my other income sources that I'm going to be pulling at that point? Because every little dollar, every little tweak can result in thousands of dollars in the wrong direction, which could result in you having to go back to work in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or doing it the correct way, that you have your baseline income and you have all this now whole slew of extra monies left over for your next steps, for your income or for your investment, estate, and tax planning strategies. So like your investment growth planning strategies, this is meant for the individual that says, okay, I've already created a proper distribution strategy. Now I have all these excess monies. I want to grow these monies. I want to be very aggressive with this. I'm more risk tolerant on these dollars, because you don't have to rely on the investment growth side to accomplish your income related needs. It's basically separate. It's like an individual piece in a puzzle. Each piece is going to be optimized towards a specific lane. So that's where the investment growth planning strategy comes in, and that's where you could leverage some of your growth related accounts, your ETFs, your mutual funds, maybe some of your longer term fixed accounts, longer term fixed indexed accounts, different things that will be appropriate for your risk tolerance and really your goals. The estate legacy planning need, this is for the individual that wants to make sure, if I pass away, then my spouse is okay. If both of us pass away, we want to make sure that they are okay, that our children or our grandchildren are okay, that they're set up. So you want to make sure, first and foremost, that you have your beneficiary information is correct, is up to date. And then if you're creating certain accounts, are there certain accounts that could give you optimized benefit to leave money tax-free as opposed to taxable to your beneficiaries? So how to make sure that you're creating either, and if you don't have set up on a will or a trust, how to make sure that that's being itemized correctly, and that's the estate planning need. And then the tax planning could really be encompassed with a whole slew of different areas of your distribution, your investment, and your estate planning needs. So are there different Roth IRA conversion strategies that you could utilize correctly and to better your situation? Or will a Roth conversion actually hurt your situation, where you're better off just keeping your money in those pre-tax and constantly hoarding dollars into pre-tax related areas so you're able to get the tax deduction now? So that's where by making sure that everything is simplistic and you're creating specific lanes and optimizing those lanes, that's how you could have that chance of retirement success. So I hope that all this makes sense. Because obviously this is something that we implement. We have a trademark process known as the retirement diet plan, and we could show you exactly how to do it and really look underneath the hood regarding your scenario, regarding your specific situation. So just as a recap, the three most important areas whenever you're trying to create a retirement budget planning, or just retirement planning in general, is to make sure, get very clear on what your vision is. And your vision could change every couple of months as well. And always kind of recap and make sure that you're still on that path. Are there ways that you could start checking off things from your bucket list so that if that deathbed scenario does come up, are you going to at least have a smile on your face and say, okay, I've done everything I wanted to? Or did I just work my ass off and I never actually got to enjoy life? And is that going to end up hurting you later on in case of an ailment or some sort of really doomsday situation occurs at that point? Step two is creating the math and science behind that retirement vision. And then step three is implementing a plan. If what you're doing right now, if your current trajectory is not going to accomplish your goal, well, then what are certain tweaks that you have to make and create a plan, not just have a portfolio. So that's where the three things, if you're able to at least accomplish these three main things, this could get you on that confident retirement. Put a smile to your face and know that, okay, I could actually enjoy life. I can enjoy my retirement years because I have these three things covered. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys.